Okay, welcome to the Density of Old and New Pennies laboratory. In this laboratory, we're going to be looking at the densities of pennies manufactured before 1982 and post 1982 pennies. So to start with, you're going to need 20 pre-1982 pennies and 20 post-1982 pennies. You'll also need a 100 milliliter graduated cylinder. You're going to need a water source. You're going to need a weighing boat and a balance or electronic scale. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to turn on the scale, and I want to put my weighing boat and zero it on the scale. Now, as it turns out, pennies manufactured before 1982 were composed almost exclusively of copper. In other words, the entire penny is copper. But in 1982, there was a spike in copper prices, and the federal government replaced the interior of the penny with another metal. And it's our job in this laboratory to try to determine what that interior metal is. The outside is still copper. It's copper coated, but the interior was replaced with another metal. And we're going to use density calculations to try to determine what that metal was. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is take 4 pennies from the pre-1982 group and just weigh those 4 pennies, just like that. And I get a measurement of 12.43. That's 12.43 grams for 4 pennies. We'll do 4 more pennies. And of course, they'll weigh more. 24.82 grams for this second group. We have now 8 pennies that are being weighed. 4 more pennies. 37.19 for this group of 12 pennies now, 37.19 grams. Another 4 pennies. Again, these are pre-1982. 49.67 grams. And here comes my final group of 4 pennies from the 1982 group. I'm now getting the mass of 20 pennies, and I get 61.52 grams. Okay? So I have the masses now of the pennies. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to determine the volume of those pennies. To do that, I'm going to place about 20 milliliters of water, not about, exactly 20 milliliters of water, put it right on the meniscus on the 20. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start placing 4 pennies at a time and looking to see the displacement of water, how much the displacement of water is as I add 4 pennies at a time. So I'll take 4 pennies off of the weighing boat, and I'll carefully drop them into the graduated cylinder and look to see how much water is displaced. It's hard to estimate, but it looks to me like about 2 milliliters or 2 cubic centimeters is displaced with 4 pennies. Let me try 4 more. 4 more from the pre-1982 group. That's 8 pennies in the water now. 8 pennies in the water. And I'm seeing not much of an increase. Only now about 3 centimeters. 3 cubic centimeters. 4 more. 4 more pennies into the graduated cylinder. And that's a displacement of about 4. Again, hard to estimate, but about 4 cubic centimeters. 4 more pennies. Six cubic centimeters for that last group of 4. And here comes the final group of 4 pennies off of the weighing dish. And the displacement appears to be about 7 cubic centimeters. 7 cubic centimeters. Okay? All right. I'm going to do the same thing now, the same procedure then with the post-1982 pennies, the same procedure with the post-1982 pennies. I won't take you through that procedure. What I will do is just show you the data that I got previous to that. And here it is. Okay? The data is this right here. So once again, let me just repeat the data for pre-1982. It's for the first 4 pennies, 12.43 grams, 24.82 grams, 37.19 grams, 49.67 grams, and 61.52 grams respectively for 4, 8, 12, 16, and the full 20 pennies. The volumes that were displaced were 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7. And to calculate density then, remember it's mass divided by volume. Mass divided by volume. So what we've got there is we've got 6.215 for the density of the first 4 pennies, right? So I took 12.43 divided by 2. Then I've calculated another density, this time with 8 pennies. I get 8.67, or 8.27, excuse me, 8.27. For 12 pennies, the density that I calculate is 9.3, and that's grams per cubic centimeter. For 16 pennies, 8.28 is the density. And for 20 pennies, 8.79. 8.79. Okay? Now, I'm going to move the sheet over. Now this is the data that I got for post-1982 pennies. Again, I went through the exact same procedure. For the first 4 pennies, I got 10.21 grams. For the second group of 4 pennies, in other words 8 pennies, 19.93 grams. For the next group, 29.92 grams. 4 more pennies. This is, again, post-1982, 39.91 pennies. And finally, all 20 pennies weighed 49.89 grams. Okay? The volumes were really the same, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 respectively. And here are the new densities for the post-1982 pennies. They are 5.10, again I just calculated that by dividing mass by volume, 5.10, 6.64, 7.48 was the density of 12 pennies, 6.65 is the density for 16 that I calculated, and the final density that I calculated for all 20 pennies was 7.13. Okay? So that should get you started. That's the data that you're going to need to complete this laboratory. All right, good luck, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.